I care way too much about Moroccan. I've been trying to think of how to best introduce the problematic of Esperanto and linguistic imperialism to people who don't pay attention to language as much as I do. You see, it's something I pay way too much attention to. I can't help it. I just instinctively track the way people speak and how it links to their identity and history. I always have. So, now that my dumb brain has finally realised people have better stuff to do than constantly tracking language all the goddamn time, and found out that most people are surprisingly understanding and interested in discussing social issues, and actually even have an intuitive understanding of the subject because it's pretty obvious if you think about it, I think I might as well go ahead and make a video about it. It's just that being so focused on one side of things makes it really difficult to have a balanced view on the subject. Sometimes my brain has trouble accepting plain reality without judging it as neither good nor bad. But anyway, I hope this guide through Morocco's linguistic landscape will give you some insight to the way languages influence the world. I've gathered most of this information during my 2-month trip to Morocco back in 2015, but the Moroccan culture has been a recurring influence throughout my life due to its strong presence in Brussels and other parts of Europe. So here we go. Which languages would the average Moroccan be expected to speak and understand? Well, starting off with their mother tongue, most Moroccans speak the Moroccan Arabic dialect. It's what people mean when they talk about Moroccan. But there are many regions where the people speak an ancestral Semitic language generally referred to as Berber, which has been spoken there since before Arabic was introduced, some 600 years ago through the spread of Islam. And it has its own alphabet and academy, but any Moroccan who speaks Berber is expected to be able to communicate in Moroccan Arabic too, as it's the country's main official lingua franca. Moroccan Arabic is quite different from Standard Arabic. It's famously the most difficult kind of Arabic to understand for Standard Arabic speakers. And as Standard Arabic is the lingua franca that ties all the Islamic countries of North Africa and the Middle East together, it has a strong cultural influence and is present in schools, on the telly, on the internet and everywhere. So most Moroccans should be able to communicate in Standard Arabic too, although they prefer not to. One of the reasons Moroccan Arabic is so different is because of the amount of French words that were adopted into it. It's actually not uncommon for a full sentence of French to make its way into a normal Moroccan conversation. This language was introduced to Morocco more recently, as the strongest world powers were in a race for world dominance, invading as many lands as they could to establish their language and culture as the most influential ones on Earth. France was quite good at this, and although the French language is no longer an official language of Morocco, it's still considered to be a language of prestige, used in international business and with a strong cultural influence. You could easily catch upper-class Moroccan kids casually speaking French together, as their parents sent them to a collège français. It's also the main language of tourism, so it makes sense that most Moroccans can speak at least some French. Right, so that's the basics. But, that being said, as the race for power and cultural dominance carries on, still today, one of the superpowers has been doing extremely well for itself. English has managed to establish itself as the #1 default lingua franca for international communication, and is seen by many as the new, exciting language to learn. It's common for tourists to expect to be understood when speaking English wherever they go, and so it goes that many Moroccans who are looking for a competitive advantage turn towards English for that. Now, you might be tempted to think that that's the end of the story, but the race for cultural power is never ending. One Moroccan man I spoke to said he was thinking about learning Chinese, for obvious reasons, and English is really still a distant afterthought in countries with strong languages like Spanish, Russian and Portuguese. What is predictable, if we don't counterbalance this race for linguistic dominance, is an extinction of most unique local languages, and with each one of them goes thousands of years of cultural development, diversity and tradition. That was my shitty video for today. Hope you enjoyed it, and thank you so much for listening. Take care. Cresco out.